All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Robinhood Weekly with your hosts, Roy and Amit. Roy, how are you doing?
It's been quite a month we've had today in the market, or at least it feels like a month. Man, wild, but good. Hanging in there. How about you?
Yeah, hanging in there. Been a wild day in the market. I agree with you. It felt like a month. I feel like we're missing someone, Roy.
I know. I thought he was here. I saw him in the comments. I don't know why he wasn't here like when we started, but
Look at this. Just waiting on Amit. That's so weird. A guy who's commenting, but oh, there he is. Oh.
I've been here.
yeah,
Dude, when we went live, you were not here.
True.
I wrote in the chat, I am not late at 8:29, and I cannot start it, guys. There's only one host. This guy.
And
So
then
I
you got
can't
up
put
and
pressure
left.
on
I
him.
don't know. Like literally, he was not here, guys, at the moment we were ready to start.
Jeez.
How are you, Tanner?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Buying stocks, rotating positions.
Ooh.
Happy. Happy. This is what the market's about. It's a lot of fun. Well, I mean, okay, so for people that need money, it's not fun at all. Okay.
No.
So my heart goes out to you guys. But for the volatility of the market, it kind of does not get more exciting than this. This is where the news comes fast. This is where Amit gets 10,000 viewers live. It's an exciting time. Everyone wants to know what's going to happen next. So I like looking at the market every 10 minutes and something new has happened.
It is not boring. It is not boring.
New records are shattered daily. But I'm sure we're going to talk about whether this is good or bad for Robinhood. I think you could probably make the case for both.
Yeah, so I think let's get right into it. Obviously, markets have had a pretty tough 3 days. If we were down 4% today, it would have been the worst 3-day stretch since the Great Depression. Instead of that, we were basically flat on the day, so it was the worst 3-day stretch from 1987. But still, a rough 3 days that people have obviously been filling in their portfolios, and it's not been easy to buy the dip. I did buy the dip today. Bought a little bit more hood, not a lot, but these are the opportunities that I think people wait for. So let's get right into it. Obviously, this is affecting the macro environment. We have no idea how the tariff situation is going to play out. Maybe April 9th, we get all these tariffs. Maybe we don't. But Robinhood is obviously in a new macro. So I guess let's just start with everyone's raw take. Roy, we'll start with you. What is your raw takeaway from this macro? And then what top line impact do you think it has on Robinhood?
So it's bad. This, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago. I saw, I think maybe 5 weeks ago, I saw a local top, and then I saw things getting worse with a lot of uncertainty that economic policies were introducing. But I saw maybe like a 10, 12% correction at worst. It's a whole lot worse. The implementation and stuff, as far as if you wanted to cause the market to go down and inspire fear, it's hard to do much more than this. And today was thankfully a pleasant surprise. I knew that we weren't getting a Black Monday. That was absolutely ridiculous. I knew that we were getting a dead cat bounce at some point just because markets can't go down like this on a straight line. Like even in COVID, you look at COVID, which at the time, like now we know what it was, but at the time it's like, man, maybe the world's ending. And literally it wasn't this bad. So I was like, well, probably there's going to be a bounce somewhere. This doesn't mean it's over. It may not be the end. And while the uncertainty remains, I think it's hard for the market to get on a sure footing. So we may be violently going up and down for a bit, which makes investors, especially retail, nauseous. Hedge funds are getting margin called, which is, I mean, it's popcorn worthy, but also like average retail folks, like Tanner alluded to, there's some folks that probably were risking money. They were just regular, ordinary Joes that they couldn't afford to lose, and they've lost it, and that stinks. I hate that for them. And it's
you want a quick piece of breaking news here?
Oh yeah.
Guess who just bought Nvidia for the first time in, I would say, 2.5 years?
Who
did Jensen buy?
No, not Jensen.
Cool.
Kathy Wood.
I was thinking Kathy, but I thought she would have bought it recently, more recently than that.
if I'm not wrong, this is the first Nvidia purchase I've seen in a long time for Kathy.
Okay.
150,000 shares.
Good. She must
That's a
have
good
been,
start. Usually when she starts buying something new, as long as the valuation doesn't remain too much unchanged, if it goes up, to like 130, then forget it. But she'll keep buying probably. And it's a great, like that's Nvidia's literally the only thing other than Bitcoin I bought over the last 7 trading days, 7 or 8 trading days. So
Also, Japan is up 6% right now. So
yeah. But yeah, like real quick. So markets uncertain. I don't think that this is over yet or settled. Is a nice bounce today. Really until these policies are a little bit more settled and there's some certainty. And maybe we'll talk about that weird rug pull at the very beginning of the day too. That was entertaining and interesting and awesome and frustrating at the same time. And as far as Robinhood, like we've talked about it before, it's less cyclical than 2022. But if we enter a bear market and a crypto winter, that's just not great for the company. They'll be around, they'll be fine, they'll be growing still, but they won't be putting up numbers that they've done other than maybe this quarter, which I'm sure we'll get to. But we don't know. Like I thought a bear market was a long, long, long way away, and crypto winter was pretty likely this year. I mean, like we could be entering a bear market. I don't know.
okay, Tanner, your takeaway.
Yeah, I don't have. I think it's honestly. I think we're all kind of taking it like a consensus right now. Vlad Tenev posted a really good post, and he said one great thing about tariffs: they could be modified or removed as quickly as they were introduced.
What was your takeaway from him posting that?
I think that there has not been a market crash, especially if this was going to be a 3-day downturn that was as bad as the volatility of the Great Depression. I didn't hear that statistic, but that's hilarious because like there's never been a time before, 1929 that like a single one-man person can tank the entire market on something that is self-imposed. I just think it's kind of, I'm not taking it as a full move. I still think that this is very negotiation tactic-esque. I know that Trump is saying, hey, you know what? We actually are not thinking anything like that. I think that's him continuing to put up that countries need to talk to him now and that they cannot I think this is exactly where he wants to be. He likes the chaos in the negotiation room. And, I'm a net buyer of stocks. In fact, I guess I have sold. I've definitely rotated, but just to buy things that I have more conviction of. There's been no fleeing to cash.
That's interesting, right? Because as soon as I saw this tweet on Saturday night, I could tell that it was getting to the point where people like Vlad, Bill Ackman, like business leaders are coming out and saying, oh boy, this can be reversed. It's not a pandemic, right? Like we can reverse this, but
it can.
But the fact that they're so vocal about it also tells me that they are coming to the grips of the realities of the fact that this could get very ugly very soon.
And I halfway agree with Vlad. I disagree with him that if the current situation persists for a month or two, it's not going to be quickly reversed. The longer the situation goes on, the longer it's going to take to be reversed. And it's not linear, it's exponential. So if we have like 2 or 3 months, it might take a year to reverse and undo a lot of the damage that's been done, just because things don't just turn on a dime. I think right now we're still in that territory. Maybe till the end of the month, it's just guessing. But looking at prior times where there have been similar situations, it's been a long time, really, to be honest. Things are different. Things move at a lot faster speed. But there is a point where we get to, and it's anybody's guess where we get to it, that there is systemic and long-term damage that will be done in global trade relations. And I don't know. It's brinkmanship. It's playing a game of chicken with Donald Trump as a president in the market, and also other countries, pretty much every country in the world right now. So it's like, what a time to be alive.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's get into the Robinhood section of it. Also, thank everybody for being here today. Appreciate you all joining us at Robinhood Weekly. Obviously, I know a tough past couple of days in the market, but hopefully we can help with some of the analysis in terms of how it affects Hood. So Hood makes money through people trading. I mean, like, it just like that's how they make money. The sentiment has to be good. People have to trade. Yes, there's net interest revenues, but a lot of that comes from deposits. People have to be willing to take money out of their banks and put it into Robinhood because they're excited to potentially invest that money. Like you need a bull market attitude to be there. I guess it's a two-part question. Have we given up the bull market attitude? And if we haven't, or if we have, can Robinhood still put up 30% growth this year without it?
I would say that it doesn't necessarily need to be a bull market. It just can't be extended drawdowns. So if we take the fast elevator on the way down and recover quickly, then Robinhood will have seen a net benefit from retail buying the dip, which is what you're seeing. You're seeing hedge funds at record levels selling, and you're seeing retail at record levels buying.
Yeah.
Essentially the way that I look at it is that hedge funds are reading and trying to interpret the data, and retail says, Warren Buffett said America will be America will be number one no matter what, and so I buy. But if that continues on for, I don't want to cut it too short, but I'd say a year plus, people lose a lot of confidence, and they see people who are not in stock markets doing a lot better. And that includes people who are just in cash that are performing a lot better than people who are actively investing. That gets people down. And, as Warren Buffett says, people look to their neighbor and they try to double down on what they're doing. So that could be doubling down on cash as well, which is a funny thing. But I'm retail, so I'm buying the dip.
Yeah, I'm team retail, so I'm hoping and rooting for a turnaround relatively quickly that retail benefits from, that institutionals lose on. So this was an interesting post by the Tobias letter. It was a follow up to what we saw really at the end of last week as well. That equities, as far as volume, were huge. We were looking at, if you look at individual names, look at the volume bar on those. It's up, elevated like to the levels it was like during COVID. It's temporary. This is not sustainable. It can't last forever. This is, by the way, options contracts being traded. This trend is very clear. Robinhood is certainly a part of that trend as well. And you can see how high it got. Literally, like he says, truly mind-blowing numbers, figuratively mind-blowing numbers. And in the short term, that's good for Robinhood. It could be bad though. Like at some point, people stop buying the dip just because they run out of cash. They no longer have confidence. We're not at that stage because I have random people that never talk about the stock market approaching me and like, hey, I got some extra money. Should I buy the dip? And I'm like, watch this video. Give me some ad money. No, not really, but we have to be careful because we don't know individual people's situation. If they're risking money that they can't afford to lose, like this would be a crazy time to do that. But anything can happen. It's very uncertain, but retail en masse is buying in massive volume. So just for this month, for April, I expect this to be a really, really, really good month for Robinhood. Now, if this situation continues, May and June might be abysmal. So
yeah. Well,
I just built or put half the money down for a deck to be built at the back of my house. And then the market crashed. And then today I paid the other half and I was like, I was pissed. So could have went to go buy the dip, but balancing relationships as well. I'm keeping the wife happy.
Yes.
The wife?
No, but girlfriend. But
when did she become? Whoa.
She's wifey, but she's not actually.
Well, if she's listening, she's probably happy you called her wife. So
yeah, I mean, we own the house, 50-50. Like we're in this for the long term, I guess. She didn't like that part as much.
Well, hopefully she actually becomes a real wife soon. Who knows? Maybe. Okay, so my thing in terms of Robinhood is that yes, so that options number that Roy showed was crazy. 100 million contracts. Like, even if Robinhood keeps their market share, that's millions of contracts they probably had traded today. They make the most in terms of a take rate on those contracts, which is really good. The problem here is exactly what Roy said. If the tariffs go into effect on April 9th, and this is why when people say, oh, learning about the macro is stupid, it's like, no. Like for some stocks, you need to understand the macro, right? If the tariffs go into effect on April 9th, then you can somewhat understand what the impacts would be on the broader stock market, which no one fully knows, but you can have some level of a hypothetical guess. And that leads to a bearish sentiment around trading. Like, I'll just say it. I don't think we've seen the bottom yet. I know futures are green right now. Everyone's happy. And I haven't sold a thing. I actually bought more today. So while I'm saying this, I'm not actively selling or anything like that because I just don't think I can time it. But I don't know if this is the bottom. And so if this is not the bottom, decreased trading volumes with increased volatility, as Tanner said, will be good in the short term for Hood, but it will disincentivize people from wanting to put more money into the platform. We saw this evidently on August 2024, where we had 2.5 billion in deposits, which was significantly less than the 4 billion average. That's because of how bad August was. And then trading volumes in August were okay for like that first week of August 5th when people bought the dip, but it wasn't like explosive like we've seen over the past couple of years, especially if crypto hits the fan, then obviously that's not going to be good for those trading volumes. So I think what looked like an incredible year for Robinhood, where we could see $100 by the end of the year, has quickly turned into, if we can hold 40, I would be happy by the end of the year, only because the tariffs implementation might create, if not a bear market, a bear sentiment across the market. Now, if that switches and Trump negotiates, it does some deals, yada, yada, everything changes. But if that stays the way it is, I don't know how we can expect Robinhood to put up a ton of growth, because at this stage, they're just going to have to adapt to the rest of the market.
So on that, can I float a crazy theory on that?
Yeah.
All right. So if you don't mind, first, Amit, and then I'll share my theory. Recap for us, because you had the best grasp of it. You saw it live. I was driving, so I didn't see any of these things. But that tweet that was leaked from the White House that led to that initial pump and then the dump, and it was retracted. Do you remember what was the name of the person that was responsible for that originally?
So theoretically, the argument is Goldman Sachs put out a report to their clients, and that report then got viral. Here's a screenshot right here. And it was an interpretation of one of the councilmen from the White House's Fox Business interview. And the headline is, Trump is considering a 90-day pause in tariffs for all countries except China. That led markets to go up 8% in about 10 minutes. And obviously everything was green, which was really good. But then it became fake news and everything dumped after that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's fully fake news. Like, I don't think so. My crazy theory is this. I think Donald Trump was surprised by how much the markets dumped. I think some was expected. We can see some of that in the reaction late last week when he retweeted something about Donald Trump's 40 chess plan to intentionally crash the market. Of course, it's utterly preposterous. Like, the 10-year yield, yes, although it went the opposite way today, so that's horrible. But he's not trying to crash the market. The reality is, I think that over the weekend, probably a lot of people are talking to him, and he's also well aware of what's happening in the market. And he's realizing, okay, if things continue the way they are, he is on pace for becoming Herbert Hoover 2.0, which is not good. No one wants to be Hoover because Hoover sucks, unintended. So I think that they floated this rumor out there just as a kind of a litmus test to see what would happen in that scenario. Now, they don't want to do this. Obviously, it makes the United States look weak. Trump will have to step back from this policy. It'll make it harder to push through other policies. There's a lot of ramifications. But clearly, the market freaking loves it. And we saw a little bit of that, too, with that initial 10% across the board, which lasted 3 minutes in Liberation Day last week. So, yeah, my crazy theory is this was an intentional test just to see if they needed to go this route, what things would react like.
Amit, you don't get the pun?
Yeah, but I laughed and went along with it, but I don't.
You don't know what a Hoover is?
Oh, it's a vacuum?
Yeah.
Who calls a vacuum a Hoover?
I think it might be a British. I think it's more of a British term for it.
Yo, did everyone know that Hoovers are vacuums? Is this just me?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna be alone on that one, dude. I think.
Oh, this is like the mocktail thing, where legitimately in
No, bro, no.
Amongst everyone, you were the only person that thought that.
Everyone knew a Hoover was a fucking. It sounds like Whoville from the Grinch. Like, it doesn't even sound like a vacuum. Like,
it's a brand. Yeah, it was a major brand back in the day. Now there's a bunch of brands, but
it was a brand. I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Hold
you
on.
young guys, man.
I probably used one of these back in the day if it was a brand.
It's like Frisbee. Like that's a brand, but everyone just calls a flying disc a Frisbee.
Now, what's going to be wild is in 20 years, like young people won't even know what a vacuum is because we'll have robots doing it.
That's true.
Well,
I
they'll
feel
still
like
be,
I've
they
used
might still hold a vacuum.
Yeah. No. Maybe a literal vacuum, like a physics vacuum. And like, no.
Are you trying to short Shark Ninja? Why are you talking shit?
Shark
Why are you
Ninja's
talking
gonna
crap
be
on the
it.
vacuum?
I like Shark Ninja. My mom was talking about Shark Ninja the other day. So
Okay, what were we even talking about? We were talking
the
about
crazy theory that Trump was, or
Oh, yeah,
that this was a test by the Trump administration, Trump team, whatever, just to see if they need to do this. This is kind of the nuclear option for them retracing back their steps, what that would do to the market. And it's pretty clear it would save the markets.
So I think so. It's so weird, bro. Like multiple times today, Trump had a chance to say, we're going to have a pause. We'll have negotiations, yada, yada. He doubled down, quadrupled down on tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. Futures are up right now. I think the markets are kind of calling BS on his quadrupling down on this. And I think they expect, as you said, Roy, an announcement tomorrow, or maybe it's the morning of April 9th, who knows, of some delay, excluding China and EU, maybe some deals. I don't know, but I agree with you, dude. The tariff rates are so absolutely absurd that it is hard for me to logically believe we would implement them in any real way. So tomorrow, maybe this is why selling today, if we get a rip tomorrow off any basic delay, would have been the wrong move. But if they actually go into effect and stocks fall another 10%, like, are we ready to see that happen? Because who knows? Maybe that does.
Yeah, I sold some on Thursday. I got out of pretty much like 95% of my 2026 dated options. I'm just like, I don't want to have a shorter time frame. Some of those were still up, surprisingly. Some were down, and I'm just like, cash is good. 27 options, fine. No shorter dated.
Well, we essentially went into this with like the record high levels of margin. I'm actually surprised that as bad as it was, like that it wasn't even worse. Like that, it was kind of crazy the level of risk that was in the markets that are going into these, potential 3 consecutive days. How scary it might be for people like that.
Well, I think if there were going to be massive margin calls, I think it already happened, right? Like we're down
Yeah.
15% or 10%, right?
Yeah, which I think means that the market, a lot of the selling was from the people that actually needed to get out.
Yeah.
Okay,
so Tanner, do you think Hood can be more than $40 by the end of the year? Like, how are you?
Yes. Yeah, dude. I think that people who trade and follow the markets as closely as potentially even we do, we take what's happening over the last 7 days and we extrapolate it out to the rest of the year. It's April. Okay. Like things can turn around so quickly. Even the initial, tariff talks between Canada and the United States, everyone's like, oh my God, this is going to be crazy. And then it all just sort of fizzled away with a 30-day delay the exact same day. Like people were saying terrible things in the morning, and then by the nightly stream that you had, it was gone.
So you're calling BS on the tariffs then? That's essentially what you're saying.
Yeah, because I just think that the rates are just absolutely unsustainable. Like small business owners will be out of business if they can't work with China, or if especially if he adds on another 50% or something like this. Like I think that his aspirations are true. Okay. But there's a lot of like nuanced business that just cannot overnight start in America. Okay. And there's a lot of people making a lot of money having set up their life knowing that free trade is a thing, myself, I'm a Canadian. I make all my money from you Americans. So if that changes, I know you guys don't care about my outcome, but there's a lot of Americans that also depend on Canada or China or EU or all these things. And you guys do care about those people. So those people are going to have a very, very, very hard time. And it's not about their investment portfolio. It's about their entire income. And so I think that the protests, whether true or not, will become very, very true months into 100% tariff with China. I don't see how that's the logical outcome.
Okay, but let's say the tariffs do go through and it decimates sentiment. What happens to Hood at that point?
Dude, forget Hood. Like I don't know. Like look at the entire market. What happens to Hood? Well, I mean, they don't get as much trading volume. The whole stock market flips. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's my assumption. Either the tariffs are bad and it messes up everything, or it goes away. And
I think tariffs to some degree. Like I actually think that what he's going to do here, and this is my belief. I might not be exactly true, but this might not be the exact outcome. But you push to an absolute extreme, the sentiment changes that that's going to be our new extreme, and then he pulls back and he keeps the 10%. We are saved, but yet he got a 10% global tariff. That's huge. And the market essentially will rally on that news. So who knows if he'll pull back to some non-extreme that at the time of whenever he was coming out for Liberation Day, that was the extent of what people thought he was going to do. That was the worst case scenario. And then it turned out it was worse than worst case. So that will actually be a rally point. He'll get what he wants, and so will the markets. And we'll all go back to having, and I'm not saying this is going to be an outcome, but this could be a plausible bull outcome, is that, you know, he gets what he wants, and there will be more investment heading to the United States because companies will still not want a 10% tariff. It doesn't need 100% for companies to, onshore more or something like this. Things will come this way.
The hard thing is, it feels like that there's at least 4 goals as it relates to tariffs, maybe more. One certainly is to try to collapse the 10-year yield. One is to somehow alleviate the trade deficit, which those entire charts were about on Liberation Day. One is to make it so it's reciprocal as far as tariffs, and one is to raise extra tax revenue as well. And those are not, like, you can't do them all.
What tax revenue do you make on 100% tariff, 104% tariff?
It depends on the product. And, you're going to hurt volume and everything too. So that's
what I mean. Like the
volume like this that I put up, Navarro said that Vietnam's 0% tariff offer is not enough. And they go into value-added taxes and stuff. I understand that, but it's like, come on, like it's 0%. And if you're going to negotiate, if you're about optics or negotiation or bringing things down, like that's a great starting point with Vietnam. It's very important to that region. It will lead to a lot of other capitulation for people that have not yet come to the negotiating table from that region as well. It puts pressure on those that haven't yet. And then so they're like, yeah, 0% is not good enough. It's like, do you want like Vietnam to pay you money so that they have the privilege of importing their goods on top of what they're paying for it's so chaotic right now. And the other piece that's really chaotic too is I don't think Lutnick had his weird quote over the weekend about Americans and being able to like screw the tiny screws and stuff and those type of jobs. And I think he has a screw loose. I don't know, man. You got that pun. You got it. Yes.
Good. That was good. That was really good. That's good.
I don't even know if I heard it. I think I was reading comments.
Basically Lutnick was like, all the people in China that do this like manual labor get paid $2 an hour. He says we want to bring them to the United States. It was kind of a misquote because he also said we're gonna have automation, but the whole idea was just like, dude, why would we want these jobs here? You know,
bro, I think that's a fine thing to aspire to have, but these are year-long plans. You're flipping this on April 9th, not April 9th, 2027.
Oh, and I forgot one. Yeah, that going back to Lutnick, like to reshore industry here in the United States. It's like that's 5 different goals, some which are self-contradictory. So how do you figure this out? Like what's the actual goal? What's the priority? Yes, you're right, Tanner, that this current plan is not sustainable unless you really want to cause a global trade war, and not quite as bad as a Great Depression, but a depression worldwide.
I think there's a real, like Larry Fink said it today, like America is supposed to be the stabilizer, Like I think a part of what actually makes their currency so good, your guys' currency, is the fact that it's pretty based, like and people can look at that. Like every country in the world will accept American dollars. They'll look at my money and they're like, I mean, maybe we can use it for firewood or something like Tinder, but your guys' money will be accepted everywhere. And It's because an American dollar is worth an American dollar. But like, if you guys threaten to put on these tariffs, I think there's a real chance that a lot of countries start working with other countries. Like, people are acting like smart relationships are not, even on this threat, are not going to be made stronger to say, hey, you know what? Next time a singular person can end the, like put the entire world into frenzy, we need some backstops here. We need some Canada, Mexico stronger relationships. We need EU, Mexico stronger relationships. So then a singular person cannot put the world trade on stop. And the fact that he, and I'm not anti-Trump or something like this. I think that he has his own strategy here. I'm not saying it's all bad news. I'm just saying even the threat this large can make people double think if it's going to happen again, right? And someone said that in the comments that Trump is not going to back down. These are going through. Trump's whole thing is back. Like, he does this his whole career. He puts on immense pressure and then says, like, he's even said comments about like, okay, well, I'll play friendly with China if they give me TikTok. Like, he's already saying, like, if you give me what I want, I'll back off. So, like,
no. So I agree with you. The weird part about trying to analyze this whole situation is that they're about to pass a massive tax cut that just got approved in the Senate. It's about to get approved in the House. They need to pay for that. And you can't just get more growth. You need revenue from somewhere. And I think Lutnick's master vision plan is external revenue service tariffs.
Yeah, 10% tariff.
There will be negotiations to an extent, Tanner, but I still think they need to pay for this stuff. Otherwise, the deficit's going to continue to explode.
I think a 10% tariff pays for it.
Yeah,
I think you guys get a tariff. I think a tariff is fine.
Yeah, and I think at this point, I will say the one thing is, if this is about negotiation and leverage and getting people to accept what you actually want, if the goal was a 10% tariff, the world would rejoice and throw a celebration. I mean, they name it National Trump Day if he wanted at this point. If it was a 10% tariff and that was guaranteed all the way through his administration, be like, okay, awesome, way better than what we have right now. We'll see them. But no, I think it's called the Laffer curve, if I'm not mistaken, going back to the Reagan administration, where it works this way with income taxes, but also works this way with tariffs as well. If your goal is actual revenue, you don't want a super high tariff, like 106% tariff. It sounds great as far as revenue, but you're actually probably going to get less than a 10% tariff, just because there's going to be a lot fewer goods coming in at that 106 level versus 10%.
Yep.
This is what I'm talking about, dude. Like, again, either they're trying to one up each other, but China just says they will fight to the end, quote unquote, if the US insists on tariffs. I mean, like, look, they have to say this to sound smart right now, but how ugly is this going to get? And then how do the markets ultimately price this in?
If he was just focusing on China, nobody else, like, this could absolutely work, as far as like lowering it down. And there has been, I don't know where it's been recently, but there has been currency manipulation that they cited on Liberation Day is actually really, really rare. But China has been engaging in that historically. I don't know if it's been recently or not with the yuan. So there is a chance that I think that if they were isolated and you were just going straight across with them, that you would get some form of negotiation that'd be favorable to the United States and frankly to the global order. Instead, right now you have weird headlines of like Japan and of course South Korea and China getting together. And historically, I mean, you don't even have to go that far back. Japan and China have really never liked each other. World War II and before World War II certainly did not help things. That has not been forgotten, but desperate times can bring even countries that don't typically like or trust each other together, at least for a little while. So,
yeah, I think the China and EU are probably, I think Trump is probably surprised by how hard he's getting strong-armed right now. But
they're not giving up. They're not giving up at all.
No, but that sucks for both parties. I honestly am a big believer. I think a lot of people could put you almost don't need equal trade. I don't know if you guys have looked into this, but the zero tariff is to the benefit of the country that's offering it. That's what gets you all the business.
Agreed.
The countries that want to offer large tariffs are the ones that are saying, hey, don't deal with us as much. All right, we won't. Like, it's not that it doesn't hurt the US that they put on those high tariffs. It hurts the country because we're not going to deal with them as much.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
I think there's a few times when very selective, very narrow tariffs are effective at a higher level, but
Sure.
for the most part, yeah, 0% are best usually for the nation over the long term. Over the short term, there might be a sugar rush of revenue, and I don't think 10% are that damaging. I mean, like the consumer. That's one thing that people need to understand is if there's a 10% tariff on a good, that doesn't mean it's 10% more expensive for the end user. It usually takes, depending on if they're this aggressive, it's going to be a lot faster. But it usually takes a couple of years, just like with rate cuts or rate raises, for the full weight of that to hit the end consumer. And it's not going to be a 10% sticker price either, just because this is on the actual cost of the goods that they're importing, not what they're selling it at for the retail person.
My only thing here is that, yes, China wants to do a lot of business with us because we buy a lot of their stuff, but we still buy a lot of their stuff. When you walk in your house, like every room you go to, there's probably going to be multiple things made in China. And so if the Trump goal is, okay, screw that, we'll just buy all of those little knickknacks in America. A, do we have the supply for that? B, will they be cheap enough to get the average American to say, I can buy this like fancy looking lamp from an American manufacturer?
Definitely not on April 10th. you know?
Yeah. All right. So I guess our assumption here is that macro sucks right now until we get clarity. Until we get clarity, Robinhood's probably going to be in a tough spot. I mean, they benefited off this volatility over the past couple of days, but eventually this volatility will die down, maybe. And if it turns into a bearish trend across the market, it's an accumulation year for Hood, baby.
Could be that. And I will, I can't add right now, but as I get opportunity, I will be adding to Robinhood. Right now, I'm just buying NVIDIA and Bitcoin.
I'll just say that all this tariff talk is not actually my belief. Like, I think this will come down because it all just doesn't make sense in my mind. I don't think that the market realizes how just large these impacts will be. And so I honestly believe it won't happen. I think there's
So talk to me how that plays out. Tomorrow they announce it's not going to happen. On a week from now, like
a delay. So I don't know. I don't know how it, like, I'm not in those rooms. I just can't see how, Trump continues to lead a country where you're giving a poison pill to all of your consumers. Like, people will be pissed. American made it's almost like COVID. Like a lot of people will benefit, I'm sure. The people who were online before already, like, their businesses will boom. The American-made companies will boom. But a large extent of people, if you're telling them to stay in their homes or whatever, I'm going back to the COVID point, a lot of people will be hurt. And if they can point to a person and say, this person did this to me, good luck staying in office. So it's funny it's literally like called Trump's tariffs. Like to point the finger anywhere else is like, you're making this your strategy. So maybe Trump will point the finger somewhere else and say, actually, it was this guy, we'll get rid of him, and let me continue on as we were before with free trade. But there will be a lot of hurt in the short term, and it might even be needed hurt, but people don't want that. The Americans are comfortable, all right? So they don't want that needed hurt. And yeah, I think things can get reversed. Honestly, I'm a permabull.
No, I agree. I think I think we are all right to be upset, especially Americans, at how ridiculous this has been. But in the face of that, I don't know anyone who's selling. So yeah, people are complaining and annoyed and all this stuff, and that's fine because people are just frustrated. But I don't see anyone legitimately saying, I'm getting out of my NVIDIA if I bought it at 120 now that it's at 90, So I think people are possibly buying the dip.
I know a few people that have, and I know a few people that have been forced to because of margin. Yeah.
The people who have that are not part of margin that sold their NVIDIA, losers.
Wait, you can't say that yet, bro. You don't know if it's bottomed yet. You don't know.
It can go a lot lower, but okay. So here's the reality is we're talking about short term, like this year, anything can happen. Over the next 5 years, barring something unprecedented, it always can happen. Very, very slim chance. Like the Smoot-Hawley tariffs 2.0, next global depression, maybe, but very, very, very unlikely even here. But is Robinhood going to be more valuable in 5 years than today? Almost certainly. Is Nvidia going to be more valuable than it is today? Almost certainly. Now, nothing's guaranteed in the market, but that you can say that with a lot of names that are in the market, even names that are out of favor, like PayPal, Palantir. You might think it's still overvalued. Is it going to be more valued in 5 years? Almost certainly. 5 years is a long time. You can see right now it's technically just a correction for the S&P 500. We did technically hit bear market territory for the NASDAQ on Friday. I don't know that we see a bear market. I'm hopeful that we don't. But I was 2 weeks ago very confident we would not even sniff a bear market, that maybe a correction is pretty likely. Well, here we are. It's a lot less certain.
One thing's for sure, a lot of people may be getting the idea to buy the dip because Robinhood is higher than high on these freaking App Store rankings. So this is on the finance section. They're number 4 right now. On the entire, App Store ranking, I think they're about 32. These are like some of the highest places they've been, or where they get to during crazy manias. Now, why they've gotten here is up for speculation. A lot of people are saying it's college basketball. Some people are saying it's buying the dip. One thing I can probably for sure say, it's not crypto. Crypto volumes are down. I think I have a slide in here somewhere. If you kind of break it out by month, these last little bits have not been nearly as strong as what we were used to in Q1. So these are the white bars here.
So what do we think is the reason for them being number 30 in the United States App Store? I mean, it has to be the sports betting, right?
It's number 38 right now, but it was higher earlier. I think it's a basketball game. We'll find out tomorrow if it goes down to like 50 or 60. It's mostly the NCAA tournament, and people want to bet. It's easy platform.
Why not Kalshi though? Kalshi's not even up there.
Yeah, but if you already have Robinhood, and a lot of people do, and it's been a little while since you've been in it, you're like, oh, I'll just open Robinhood and put some money in. Easy.
How did you find out that they even offer it?
Pardon?
How do you find out that they even offer sports betting?
Advertising and word of mouth. Although I've not seen an advertisement, so I don't know that.
Neither have I.
But word of mouth for sure is happening.
It's a good question by Tanner, right? Like, I haven't seen a ton of Robinhood ads. Maybe other people have, but if they're advertising sports or election or prediction markets, and that's what's getting people to download it for NCAA, maybe they're advertising and we just don't see it.
Now, here's one thing. If you guys want to go even further, if you go into the app Store right now, you go to Robinhood, the first image they have is for college basketball.
No, you're right.
That's what makes me think that it is that, because that is what they are. I guess you can call advertising, but that's what they're pushing.
Free advertising.
Yeah. So potentially you could call that the caveat. But I don't see that, like, whenever you go to type in election or not election betting. We always say election betting. Whenever we say event contracts or something, is Robinhood the company that comes up? I couldn't imagine that. I think Kalshi would probably be the first name. Or maybe
sports betting.
Yeah, if you type in sports betting, potentially you see a bunch of names and you actually realize that Robinhood is now on there and they offer it. And so you're actually going with the company that has the name recognition.
Yeah.
But for sure, some of it is people that are just dip buying. Because again, it's anecdotal, but I've had 3 people, one before all of this turbulence, like a week and a half ago, and then 2 since then that are not normally talking about the markets, that have reached out and been like, hey, so I've been thinking about investing. And so I had a very brief conversation with them about risk and, index investing and stuff, just kept it very simple. And but if regular ordinary people are doing that normally are not focused on the market, like, that's certainly some of it too. So I really think tomorrow, as we see that App Store preview, like, if it just plummets down out of the top 50, mostly sports betting. If it's like number 45 or something, it's like, well, yeah, it's a lot of it's just people buying the dip.
Yeah, if you want to pull this up really quick too, this also just shows extremely high, like record levels of equity trading volume. So we showed off this one earlier for options. It's also across equities traded as well. Everything but crypto is doing well for Robinhood right now.
Oh, so the beginning of April then has been really good for Robinhood.
Yeah, for
outside of crypto,
which does make up a lot of money, but yes. Yeah. And if you want to include elections betting on there, or potentially even cash accounts or something like this, like who knows what they're going to show off. I also have the Google stuff here as well. Robinhood places 16 there, up 2 points. But actually, you guys will notice I wanted to just extend this and include SoFi is number 20, and hopefully that bar goes down. They're up 7 points, which was by far the highest in the list.
It's for SoFi sports betting product, I bet.
Yeah.
One thing about Hood is that I was watching an NBA game the other day, and Robinhood has a lot of TV ads during the NBA. So that could also be something.
Yeah. I never thought about that, but like, how far out are they as far as like their strategy? Like, it seemed like the sports contract stuff was not something that when they were doing these in these jersey patch sponsorship, that was on the radar as far as sports betting, or maybe they talked about it, but they weren't, at that point yet. And man, it works so well with the jersey patches with that push towards basketball too. It just seamless.
Yeah. And look, I don't watch a ton of TV anymore, but if people do watch the NBA, they see the sport patches, as Roy's been saying, they religiously watch the ads during the NBA TV time. I mean, those are still millions and millions of people that could be influenced. SoFi does a ton of sports advertising as well too, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. My dad was in the States recently and he was watching all the sports. He said, I couldn't believe the amount of SoFi and even Robinhood. And he specifically said the Robinhood Gold advertisements.
Yeah, there you go.
So I think they're pushing that product.
I think all this macro stuff, like can be concluded to the understanding that Robinhood still is not fully diversified yet, and that's okay because I think over the next 10 years they will be. But as of now, if the market tanks, they just can't put up the insane growth numbers. Tanner can't make his $1 billion predictions every quarter if the market tanks.
Yeah. And I saw a couple of questions, and I don't remember who said it, but can Robinhood survive like in a downturn in the markets? And I mean, they survived in 2022. They were less diversified, less popular. I mean, not nearly as good, I think, at what they're doing. And they have no debt. They have $5 billion in cash. They're profitable now, unlike before, and they'll remain profitable through that. Maybe they'll have a quarter or two if it gets really bad that they're not. But yeah, they're going to be absolutely fine as a business. The stock might get punished, but this is a company that excels. And I've seen, and I saw this with somebody that I follow too, which I thought was interesting. And if it's all right, I guess maybe we can pivot there.
Microsoft is also a company that excels.
What's that?
I said Microsoft is a company that excels.
That was bad.
Yes, that's
leave.
Well
leave.
done.
That was
bad. All right. Yeah, you guys are right.
This is why we don't like Canadians, bro. That's the issue.
But the short bear, he has a very, very different view on the market than I do, and that's why I follow him, because I don't want to be in the echo chamber. But he talked about buying Robinhood specifically for the first time. Didn't like the casino nature, and basically I think from what his reply to me, he was talking about Investor Day, that he was paying attention to that, and he's like, okay, it's looks like a new age IBKR. It doesn't mean that like spiritually new age with chakra and crystals and all that. But he talked about switching costs were very small, but the new platform creates a far stronger moat. I think he's got that nail on the head. Talks about all these different products, and then this too, which we've seen. The speed of implementation is mad as well. They're not giving old brokers any chance.
Yep.
And then all that for a 23 PE while growing 20% revenue growth, which, I mean, like that's in a bear market if they're doing that. So it's like, he's right. And a lot of other people, I think, are seeing that. If we had done Robinhood Weekly like a year ago, the stock was doing well. The company was doing well. But I mean, we'd have like maybe a third of the viewers at best. But a lot of people now are like, okay, yeah, Robinhood is legit as a platform and it's legit as an investment. And I hope that we don't go into a bear market that's long lasting or even a crash. We can, and if we do, I'll take opportunity in that and really go heavier into Robinhood at that point. just because I think that the valuation will be pushed down to, like, right now it's trading at a silly level for me, but utterly ridiculous. And there's other names too that I'll buy. I won't go 100% Robinhood or Palantir or Nvidia, but I'll buy those names heavily.
I'm trying to get Nvidia to like 50%. If this stays
Of your
down,
portfolio,
yeah.
bro, this guy has balls of steel, eh?
It's a pretty easy bet. It may not be the highest performer, but
I still blame you, Tanner, for getting me into Nvidia. I just want to let you know. I
Blame
could
you,
have
I saved
I
you.
could have not been bag holding this stupid stock, and now I am.
I
Okay,
saved you.
Amit, if you blame him now, in 2 years you have to thank him.
No, then it was my decision. Nvidia's
Yeah.
at 200. He's not getting shit from me. But now, dude, because me and Roy had a debate with you for 2 freaking hours on Hood Weekly about why Nvidia's cyclical, and you somehow convinced us magically that at 140 it's a screaming buy.
I don't even think I'm that good.
Tanner didn't literally say that, but you know.
I don't even think that I'm that good at picking stocks, but boy, am I good at convincing people. I'm getting you guys to get into the companies I like.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I think you're actually pretty good at picking some quality companies. On some, I disagree with you, but like Nubank made a lot of sense, and it was exactly what I was looking for. And Nvidia, it was very clear. I think as far as debating skill, like Amit trounces us, but if he has a fundamentally weaker position that Nvidia is just cyclical and you shouldn't get in it, and that's not reality, like it made it you made your case very well. And like it was just hard. It wasn't just because of your argumentation style. It was like, those are the facts. I cannot like them if I don't want to. I can choose to do no action, but it's like, yeah, I need to get some Nvidia. So
to be honest, Tanner was convincing, but the real reason I pulled the trigger was because of Pelosi. I was like, she's not gonna be wrong about this, right?
I mean, there's worse reasons, right?
No, obviously, look, I've been wanting Max 7 exposure. I've had no Max 7 for the past couple of years. And so to me, I was like, all right, what's cheap? What can grow? What is in the cutting edge of AI? I like Google's valuation, but it's not really that cutting edge. Microsoft's and Apple's kind of dead to me. Tesla's cool, but the valuation is really extreme. So then it was left with Nvidia.
Yeah.
So,
and at the top, I wanted to rotate into some things that were a little bit less risky and sensitive. Ironically, Nvidia's been pretty risky and sensitive since then, but I think over the long term, it's not going to be that way. So,
why are you laughing so much, Tanner? What'd they say?
I was laughing at you. You said I know what you meant, but your wording is funny. You said Microsoft and Apple are dead. No. These are like historically the most successful companies of all time.
Yeah, but obviously, but you wouldn't buy their stocks.
I might buy Microsoft. Microsoft.
No, Tanner, be honest. Would you allocate capital in your portfolio to any of those 2 names? Meaningful capital.
Not right now, but like I've never been a big.
That's the answer.
You know what's so funny? I was even talking with Steven the other day, and I was like, "Oh, I've never bought like big tech," and he's like, "The 2 biggest some of the 2 biggest positions in your portfolio is Tesla and Nvidia." I was like, "Yeah, but whenever I bought them, they weren't considered big tech. Like, FANG didn't include Tesla and Nvidia. These were $50 billion companies, you know? So it's funny now that I am buying big tech that does include those names still, and Google and Amazon, but that was not always the case, you know?
But that's my thing. I would buy any of the other 5 Max 7s over Microsoft and Apple, any of them, because it's so easy to see the growth story and believe in it. Microsoft and Apple, they are amazing companies, but it's just not that exciting at this stage of life that we're at right now.
I'll agree with you on Apple. I made a post on it a little while ago. I'm like, dude, Apple is not a safe haven. If I was shorting stocks, I'd short Apple. Man, I would have made a lot of money because I was like the top.
I said this.
We should have bought puts on Apple, bro.
But it's like, people see it as a safe haven, which is ridiculous in this tariff environment. Well, the market woke up, and it can do that in a hurry. Microsoft, I think, is a great company, but it's going to be a slow grower. They have made some mistakes. I agree with you. Like, Apple would be like way down. Like, I would not want to own this at all, Mag 7 or otherwise. Microsoft is like, it's okay. And then the other 5, like Tesla has some risk there, but the other 4, especially, like, I won't get into Meta. Google, I'm kind of neutral on, but like, man, Nvidia, Amazon, especially, and Tesla, pretty interesting.
But even Tesla, you can ignore valuation on Tesla because of how much potential there is compared to Microsoft and Apple. That's the difference, right? I think that's what gets people excited about.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stocks that have potential out there.
No,
We'll
but
have to
Tesla,
see.
objectively, right? Like you can
Yeah.
sleep well at night the next 5 years, I would think. Betting
Yeah.
on Elon with FSD and robotics, hopefully, right? Over a lot of different.
I think so. But I also think, like, honestly, this is just the way that I'm looking at this. I'm not saying that the people should do this or anything like this, but I think that Nvidia should be looked more like like a cult following. I feel like Nvidia has no cult following, and people need to realize, like, this is going to be the backbone of every single technological advancement going forward. And that could change. I'm not saying that, but right now, they are the big dog. And whenever people, I was talking with someone who's not even really into technology, and they were naming all of these different sectors: robotics, self-driving, every industry. And I'm like, yep, no, they do that too, and they do this too. The next, Nintendo console, just like the last one, has a specific NVIDIA chip in it. And I'm like, no matter where you go, you're going to get exposure to technology through potentially one of the best providers of, or that are powering this revolution, and they're cheap.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I think the issue is most regular consumers just see the consumer facing product and think, oh, NVIDIA, yeah, they sell graphics cards. So
Yep.
good for gamers. And maybe some people realize, yeah, Bitcoin mining. And that's it. They have no idea. Like, there's a lot of people that still, like, we live in a little bit of an echo chamber on X and on YouTube and with our audience here. All of us know what ChatGPT is, what AI is, and what's been coming as far as LLMs. You talk to the regular average person on the street, maybe they've heard of ChatGPT. A lot of them have. Some have used it. You say LLM, they're like, what is that? Or semiconductor, like, yeah, I think that's some computer thing. Data center, they're like, I don't know. AI agent, they're like, what are you talking about? Like, is that a government task force that's there to stop AI from taking over the world? Maybe.
I just think, like, I saw, Gary in the chat said, I missed NVIDIA. It's like, dude, I bought it today. What do you mean missed?
Well, that's a very interesting thing about this dip. And, we saw that with the short bear. Like, he was like, I missed Robinhood, but he put it on his watch list and he's like, I want in at a certain price. He got in. The market right now, like, unless you think that we're heading into and we can absolutely go lower, but if you're buying quality companies that you thought you missed, no, like you didn't miss them. Like the other day, Amit, on SoFi Weekly, Tim Sweeney came on. He bought a bunch of Palantir on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah. He was like, dude, this is a great company, has a fantastic moat. He thought he had missed it.
What did Tanner think of that purchase? That is.
He waxed long on Palantir. I'm like, yes, on SoFi Weekly.
Yeah, actually, Tim's an interesting guy because I think he owns Robinhood as well.
Yeah.
He owns Palantir. He just really also likes SoFi.
But is it SoFi's his number one? Because like he seems to love SoFi.
I don't know. Honestly, I think and this is me 100% guessing, if I were to guess what his largest position is, it's probably SPY.
Yeah,
like he seems like a pretty diversified guy.
But no, he loves covering SoFi, so there's got to be some extended exposure there. Like he wouldn't talk about SoFi this much without really having it.
I also think that there's an audience that doesn't like he has a lot to offer to the SoFi audience more than he does potentially other, like similarly to why I cover SoFi a lot versus covering NVIDIA, for example, is I feel like NVIDIA was covered much better. Tim's definitely not doing it for content or anything. I think that he was just like a person that was in that community who was like, oh, I'll be the lawyer here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
by the way, did you guys see the IBKR glitch that people had issues of?
I heard it. So what happened? I heard of this. What happened?
I think a trade did not get executed that should have gotten executed. It cost a guy a lot of money, and a lot of other people had lost money too, just because trades weren't filling, they weren't getting executed, even though it said that it was. On the Hood Retail Show, commenting on my thing here just a few minutes ago, he said all brokers reported glitches today: IRB, Hood, and Fidelity. I didn't see any reports of that for Robinhood, but I did see that noted on Fidelity and a couple other names too. And I don't love seeing glitches for anybody, no matter what broker they're using. But I love Robinhood not having any issues, not having any glitches at all, while others are having issues. As an investor and also as a user, just because like people think that Robinhood just sketchy and it's like taking away the buy button. Like, you would see that left and right if this happened to Robinhood. IBKR, there's people that are affected that are furious, but like nobody's like, oh, they're scamming you and they're out working for, Ken Griffin or anything like that. And so I hope that continues. I know that they've built a really good tech stack. Sometimes there's issues beyond what Robinhood can control. But over time, eventually, I think there's always going to be some people that are mad at Robinhood. But over time, I think people realize like it's a quality platform. They're not going to do that again. It was wrong what they did. But every single platform has its issues, and I think Robinhood over time will probably have fewer.
There are some comments in the chat saying that potentially Robinhood was seeing some things as well. Even the original comment that Amit brought up. I think what it goes to show you is just the level of volume. Like, these are unprecedented levels of volume, and so like, how can you plan your servers for something that has not even remotely happened? Like, I'm sure they adjust it for a 30% margin above what they would even expect on a high season. And if you're blowing past those numbers, like, yeah, I could see that there would be some problems for these companies. But honestly, that's probably a good thing. Even the GME event to some degree was probably a good thing.
Yeah, we would have to see massive levels of social media commentary about Hood glitching. Like, I didn't see a single post. I'm sure there probably were some issues, but as long as the general public is like not having an issue, then usually these brokerages, they should be okay. And they should, because Vlad said they re-architected their entire database to deal with what happened after GameStop, and it's been tested multiple times. So I don't think we should see that much of an issue going forward.
Did you guys see the this is a little bit off news or off topic, but the Shopify letter to the internal team?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
The takeaway is they're not going to hire a single new employee unless they can determine that employee's job can't be done with AI.
It's the Klarna route.
Yeah, just he said every single person should be adopting artificial intelligence, and he doesn't think that anyone will be immune to not like that you're going to be good enough to not use it. He's
That's
like,
kind of wild though, bro, right? Like,
he's like, it's a 10x tool, and if you're a 10x engineer, make sure you're doing 100x. Like, and what's interesting is the bear case for Shopify is pretty interesting, because the tools that they allow you to do, could it be done by artificial intelligence, connecting, like helping you set up the back end of your shop and then connecting APIs to Stripe? Artificial intelligence will probably be able to do that very quickly, very soon. So Shopify now has to run to create tools that, like Toby Lucky said in the letter, like we're seeing engineers wanting to take on projects that they would never have been able to do before Cursor. So I'm super excited to see what comes out of the future of commerce. And to a lot of people that don't know, this is like a larger position for me than Tesla. It's like my second largest position. I'm super fan of Toby, but his the demand at which he wants this company to grow means that he has to put massive pressures on his employees to use the best tools and run the fastest, because even growing slowly is stagnation, and stagnation is dying. So, yeah.
Dude, can you be Canadian and not own Shopify?
Dude, I talk to friends who don't even know what Shopify is.
That's insane, bro. That's that's the biggest thing I know from Canada.
It is the biggest thing.
That's wild.
I mean, probably not now. I'm sure the banks have taken, I'm sure RBC might be the biggest stock right now, but like Shopify was the largest stock here a couple days ago, probably.
What's interesting to me, like that seems to be a trend in fintech. A lot of it is a lot of fintech names, including the one we're talking about tonight, Robinhood, are very, very agile, and so they have to iterate. And if they don't, they get eaten by consumers. Yeah. PayPal has been a victim of that. Now they're iterating and they are implementing AI and they're scaling back their workforce. But Robinhood, they're doing an amazing amount of volume, launching products left and right, and they're doing it with like 33% less employees than they had a few years ago. That's pretty amazing. And of course, Vlad is like, I mean, he's involved in the AI startup. The dude is brilliant. He has a brilliant team as well. Like, they are all over this AI stuff. I think that there's a lot of companies out there that aren't even talking about what they're doing, but on the back end, we're going to see that. This is one of those things where maybe the bull market is over, but AI is not over. And we're going to see real world ramifications for people and also market ramifications. So that may take a little bit longer to play out as far as market price appreciation in the bear market scenario, but it will play out. That weighing machine of Warren Buffett, as he famously uses, is going to come into play over the long term. And AI is a heavy weight. Those firms that implement it well are going to do really, really well with massive cost savings. And those that don't, if they're in an industry that is evolving rapidly, like fintech, they will get eaten alive.
What did I say? Everyone's putting Canadian slang in here, but I guess. What did I say during my? I didn't say that. I didn't say I'm cheese and fam. I didn't say any of this.
Dude, there's this Canadian Instagram guy that does all the common freaking phrases, and it's hilarious.
It's just a lot of Jamaican patois.
Yes,
that's what it is.
Okay, last couple things to end out the show. First of all, we got earnings April 30th. Roy, Tanner, and I will be on the call again to ask a question. It's kind of, they want to make this thing like a quarterly thing. So hopefully we'll be able to ask some good questions. April 30th, we will be live as always, streaming it at 3:30 to probably 6 p.m. Eastern. And we'll do much more earnings previews when we get closer to the actual date. Final thing, Robinhood released their investor index for the month of March. And these are the top 10 holdings on the platform.
Love it.
I'd remove a few of them, but yeah, it's not a bad list.
So you got Apple, Palantir, Meta, Disney, Nvidia, Microsoft, Tesla, Amazon, and then the two that I would imagine Roy would want to remove as well, Ford and GameStop.
Keep GameStop on there. Remove Apple, remove Disney, remove Ford.
Well, you're not going to remove Apple because it's the largest.
It's also the state. I'd rather Robinhood investors be in Apple than GameStop.
I'm so surprised that Ford is there. Like, what's going on?
I have no idea. Ford's always been big, and Disney is weird to me. Like, yeah, what in the world? I understand why GameStop's on there, and it's like in an ideal world, yeah, like it's not a real company; it's a micro strategy, and it's I don't know, it's not a real company at this point. But people want their memes. Have a meme stock on there. Remove Apple. Get rid of that. Disney, Ford, Palantir should be number one. Realistically, admit.
They should replace Ford with Hood. Buy what you know.
Yes.
Dude, yeah. Why isn't Hood Hood should be up there, bro?
It's just not a retail name. Not yet. There's more retail in it now, but it has not been a popular retail stock.
It's so crazy because if you're using the damn thing every day and you're a power user, you would think like, oh, maybe there's potential in this product I use every single day, you know?
So a couple of people are saying Ford was the free one that they received. I do remember getting some Ford as free stock from Robinhood. Sold it immediately,
hilarious.
By the way.
But that was 5 years ago. The fact that people are still holding on to it is wild.
Yeah.
Retail strong, baby. Love it.
I wonder if Robinhood could give like their stock for free.
It's probably a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Probably not good. Give Schwab. Here, guys.
You guys ever see those stocks that offer? This will be the last thing. I so promise. The companies that offer benefits to like as a customer if you own their shares. Like the one that I think everyone knows is Carnival Cruise.
I didn't know that.
I think if you have 100 shares of Carnival Cruise, then you get some benefit whenever you get a discount on cruises.
That's cool. I didn't know that. No.
AMC did that back during COVID, and if you're a shareholder, you got like a free popcorn and the thing every quarter.
Big. It's like an employee discount.
All right, cool. I will be live in the next 20 minutes for a Grabby Grab. If anyone cares about that company, I'll be streaming their first ever product event. I saw the transformation on Palantir with AIPCon, Robinhood with Gold. I'm hoping that similar arc can happen for Grab. We'll see tonight whatever they announce. So I'll be live in about 20 minutes. Aside of that, Tanner and Roy's YouTube and Twitter in the descriptions. and we'll be back next Monday for Robinhood Weekly.
I like your Robinhood badge in the background. I just noticed it.
Yeah, I put it up there. That's the Palantir one at AIPCon, and that's the Robinhood one.
Nice. Nice.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.